The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, painting the vast desert in shades of amber and crimson. On the edge of this unforgiving landscape sat a modest ranch, its wooden fences weathered by decades of wind and sun. Inside, James Harper, a man in his late 40s, tended to his animals with quiet dedication. Life had never been easy here. Every day demanded grit, resilience, and a stubborn faith in the goodness of people. But James believed in one simple truth: every living soul deserved kindness. That evening, as he returned from the water trough after filling it for the cattle, he noticed something unusual near the dry creek bed, a shadow, tall and imposing, moving awkwardly among the sparse shrubs. At first, he thought it was a trick of the fading light, but as he approached, he saw her clearly. A young girl, taller than anyone he had ever seen, with hair as dark as raven wings and eyes like polished amber, was struggling to lift a heavy, cracked canteen. Her clothes were torn, dust clinging to her skin, and her lips were parched and cracked. Instinctively, James ran to her side. "Here, let me help you," he said gently, offering her a fresh jug of water. The girl looked at him warily, suspicion etched on her magnificent features. But her thirst was undeniable, and slowly, she took the jug, drinking with a desperation that made James's heart ache. "Thank you," she whispered in a language he didn't understand. Yet her tone carried gratitude deeper than words. He guided her to the shade of an old mesquite tree. She rested, and he simply sat a few feet away, careful not to frighten her. For a long while, they said nothing, two strangers bound by a moment of need. Then, she stood, nodded once, and disappeared into the desert as suddenly as she had appeared. James thought little of it afterward. Encounters with travelers, though rare in this remote stretch, were not unheard of. He returned to his chores, humming softly as he repaired a fence post, unaware of the eyes watching from afar. By dawn the next day, the calm of the desert shattered. The horizon, which had once promised peace, was now a wall of dust and motion. Hundreds of figures appeared, mounted on horseback, their silhouettes massive and imposing. James froze, recognizing the unmistakable war paint and feathers of the Apache warriors, legendary for their strength, strategy, and unyielding pride. 300 men, at least, were moving toward his ranch. Fear surged through him, but before panic could take hold, he remembered the girl. Could she have been one of them? The warriors surrounded his property, encircling the ranch with a precision that spoke of generations of training. Their leader, a towering man with a stern face painted in deep reds and blacks, approached on horseback. James stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I don't mean any harm," he called out. "Please, let's talk." The leader studied him silently for what felt like an eternity. Then, to James's astonishment, a young girl emerged from among the warriors, the same one he had given water to the night before. She rode confidently, unafraid, her eyes meeting James's. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched her lips. "She speaks of your kindness," the leader finally said, his voice deep and commanding. "You gave water when no one else would. That is not easily forgotten among my people." James's throat went dry. I didn't do anything extraordinary," he murmured. "But you did," the girl spoke softly, this time in English, her voice melodic yet firm. "In a time when cruelty often rules, kindness becomes legendary." The warriors began to dismount, leaving their horses behind in an organized display. They approached the ranch cautiously, yet there was no anger in their movements, only respect. They inspected the land, the fences, the animals, and even James himself, as if weighing his soul with silent scrutiny. Hours passed, tension simmering under the warm desert sun. James worried that a misunderstanding could lead to tragedy. But as the sun began its descent once again, the leader raised his hand. "You have shown honor," he declared. "This land, and its keeper, shall be blessed." One by one, the warriors left gifts at the edge of the ranch, woven blankets, hand-carved tools, and rare herbs for the animals. James was overwhelmed. He realized that what had begun as a simple act of compassion, a cup of water, had blossomed into a bridge of trust, a gesture so profound that it transformed potential enemies into allies. The girl stayed behind for a moment, her eyes reflecting the sunset. "Remember," she said, "the smallest acts can shape the greatest destinies. Your heart has opened a path no sword ever could." And with that, she returned to her people, vanishing into the horizon as mysteriously as she had arrived. James watched long after they disappeared, his chest full of gratitude and awe. He knew that the story of that day would live forever, not in newspapers or records, but in the hearts of those who had witnessed it. His simple choice to offer water had rippled across cultures and generations, a testament to the power of selflessness and empathy. From that day forward, the ranch flourished in ways James could never have imagined. Traders passed through with respect, neighbors offered help more generously, and the animals thrived. Yet, the true gift was invisible, a renewed faith in humanity, a reminder that even in a harsh, unyielding world, kindness could change everything. And every evening, as the sun dipped below the desert horizon, James would glance toward the distant hills, imagining the girl and her people watching over him, a silent promise of peace and honor echoing across the sands. For James Harper, the lesson was clear: one act of compassion, no matter how small, could awaken the heart of an entire world. And in that awakening lay the truest, most enduring gift of all.